Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another demonstration. Tonight's demonstration is a recap and updates of the Romeca Meeks case. So when you come in, can you please hit the like button? I appreciate it. I'm going to read my copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use of purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, scholarship, and research. So everything over here is my opinion and a legend. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, share, like, and comment. I'm going to get into the logistics of this case. And I know most of everybody heard about the Romeca Meeks case. Shout out to all the content creators covering this case. They doing an excellent job, especially Cope's. Cope's been really breaking it down. She had been boots on the ground, and that's good. And I appreciate everybody who's fighting for justice in this case, because it don't take a blind man to see that this was no self-defense case. This was intentional. To me, this was up close in person. Holly wanted to take Romeca out with the help of Carlos. And Carlos, the main reason why Romeca is not here today. A little boy lost his mother because of stupidity. And it just makes me sick to my stomach how women can get caught up with these guys in situations like this. Holly knew that Romeca and Carlos was together. She knew they had a whole family over there, but it was Carlos' responsibility to make sure that he stayed grounded in his relationship. But since the relationship was over and he decided to move on, Romeca did too. Romeca decided to move on and let Carlos be. But Carlos couldn't let Romeca be. I would think Carlos was jealous of Romeca, because she had moved on. She was getting herself together. She was doing everything she needed to do to make a life for her and her son. And he didn't like that. So he wanted to bring some harm to her because he didn't like where she was at. And he wasn't happy with where he was at. So I'm going to give you a short story of how this all played out. Okay, Romeca was a 31-year-old mother who lived in Chicago, Illinois. On the morning of September the 8th, she was dropping her son off to school. Soon as she dropped her son off to school, she was heading to work. She didn't know that September the 8th was going to be her last day to see her child. Her child didn't know it was going to be his last day to see his mom. Anyway, Cordisha Johnson, Holly, 31-year-old, her and Carlos was together the same morning, not too far from the school. They knew Carlos knew Romeca route. He know the route she take to drop her son off. He knew the route she take to go to work. So they was waiting, plotting, and planning. It ain't no other way, because why would he be there? And why would Harley be there? If Romeca had a restraining order against Carlos, why would Carlos be in the percentage of where Romeca at? The stay away order is for you to stay 500 feet or so, I think, away from the person who got the restraining order out on you. So why would you be in the percentage in the presence, not too far from where she at? Why? So, you know, it's ironic how he ended up right there around the time Romeca dropped her son off. So I see that as premeditated. Harley has now been charged with first-degree murder. When it first took place, that when she pow Romeca, she got taken into custody. They took her to jail, but they didn't keep her because they didn't charge her with anything. 3 months later, she was charged with first-degree murder. Now she's in jail waiting trial. She was denied, I think, 3 times for bond. I might be mistaken, but I think it's 3 times she was denied bond, so she couldn't get out. She had to stay in jail until her trial. On her first court appearance, Romeca family and her some supporters and everybody showed up. It was a big turnout. So former charges was moving forward, even though it was an early delay, but she stayed in custody. So I guess they just getting ready for the arraignment and all that type of stuff. You know, she had to do her get her just due. Me personally, if I was a judge, I would have took her, locked her up, and threw away the key. But everybody is innocent to proven guilty, and she had to do her just due. She had to go through her process with the courts until she formally charged and convicted, where she will be sentenced or whatever the case might be. So I have a video that's going to break down how this all played out. So I'm going to share that video with you now and give you more in-depth information.
It's absolutely possible, and Holly Johnson's life is almost over. Because Illinois doesn't do second chances. Illinois doesn't do parole. Illinois doesn't do early release. And when you stack 6 Class M felonies with firearm enhancements and consecutive sentencing, you don't get a prison sentence. You get a death sentence.
I can do that.
This is what Holly Johnson stands to face. Class M felony. Right now, you're probably asking yourself, what the hell is a Class M felony? And the reason you're asking is because it doesn't officially exist. It's not in the Illinois Criminal Code. It's not even written into law. Class M is a courthouse.
Shout out to Untold Tales for this footage. Shout out to Untold Tales.
What prosecutors and defense attorneys call first-degree murder when they're standing in hallways, when they're negotiating in back rooms, when they know someone's life is about to end. The M stands for murder, and it exists in its own category because first-degree murder doesn't fit anywhere else. Let me explain the Illinois felony structure so you understand why this matters. Illinois ranks felonies from most serious to least serious. Class X, Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, Class 4. Class X is the worst. Aggravated kidnapping, armed robbery with a firearm, predatory criminal sexual assault. If you're convicted of a Class X felony, you're looking...
And you have to understand this. It's against the law to have a firearm near school, first of all. So that's a charge against her. She shouldn't have no loaded weapon near no school. 2, self-defense. When you're you're supposed to have your firearm on you. And if you've been threatened by somebody and it's an imminent threat, you're supposed to have your firearm on you. Holly went to her car and retrieved her firearm. She passed her door, her driver's door, went around the back of the car to the passenger side and got her firearm. She walked past her baby. She didn't even look at her baby. She didn't even check on her baby. So how was Romeca a threat to her and her child when Romeca was nowhere near her and her child? 2, she had no business. She had a choice. She could have gotten her car and left. She could have called the police. She could have did anything to avoid any confrontation with Romeca, period, if she felt Romeca was a threat to her. I truly don't believe Romeca was a threat to her, and everybody else know Romeca wasn't a threat for her. Harley had videos up showing the fact that she was pow-powing people. Her sister made a statement. She said, "We don't fight, we just pow-pow people." So she have a lot of going against her in this case. Like I said, the evidence is there. The facts are there. It's no beating around the bush saying she was defending herself, because she wasn't defending herself. She was in no way in harm's way. Romeca was not a threat to her. Romeca was, as I saw a video earlier, she was standing with her arm crossed, as they say. The witness say Romeca was standing with her arms folded. So how would you be a threat if your arms is folded? So no, I rebuke all that. But let's get back into it.
Looking at 6 to 30 years in prison. No probation, no supervision, straight to the Department of Corrections. But first-degree murder? First-degree murder is so serious that it breaks the scale. The sentencing range for first-degree murder is 20 to 60 years minimum. And that's before firearm enhancements, before aggravating factors, before consecutive sentencing. First-degree murder doesn't fit into Class X. It's worse. So lawyers started calling it Class M. And here's the part that destroys most defendants. You can be charged with multiple counts of Class M for killing one person. Not because you killed multiple victims, because there are multiple legal ways to prove you committed murder. Illinois Statute 720, ILCS 591, recognizes several theories of first-degree murder. Each theory is a separate legal pathway to conviction. Each theory can be charged as a separate count, and each count carries the same sentence, 20 to 60 years minimum, with the possibility of natural life. So when Holly Johnson shot Romeca Meeks Blackman 3 times in the face on September 8, 2025, prosecutors looked at the evidence and said, "We can prove this murder 6 different ways." And that means 6 separate charges, 6 separate counts, 6 separate chances for the jury to convict. Right now, Holly is officially charged with 1 count of first-degree murder. That's what gets filed at arrest. That's what gets read at the detention hearing. But that 1 count is just the beginning. The grand jury, indictment, which typically happens after preliminary hearings, after evidence is presented, after prosecutors have built their full case. That's when the charges expand. That's when 1 count becomes 6. And that's when Holly realizes she's not fighting a murder charge. She's fighting 6 murder charges. Let me break down what those 6 counts will look like when prosecutors file the indictment. Count 1, intentional killing. Holly intended to kill Romeca or cause great bodily harm. How do prosecutors prove intent? Witnesses. Multiple witnesses heard Holly yell, "I'm going to shoot you. Watch me shoot you." That's not a threat made in anger. That's not words spoken in the heat of the moment. That's a statement of purpose made seconds before.
See, that's the dumb part of it. Holly Pow Pow Romeca, broad daylights, around school grounds with a bunch of people. That means there were quite few witnesses who witnessed this. So how can she come out of this when you got a bunch of witnesses? Well, now they up to 6 that come forward saying what they saw and what they heard. So it was intentional. It wasn't self-defense. This was intentional. And I hope she get everything that she deserved, because nobody has the right to take nobody's life. The only person that can take somebody's life is the person who gave it to you, and that's God. Let's get back into it.
For pulling the trigger. That's intent spoken out loud for everyone to hear. Count 2. Knowledge that actions would cause death. Holly knew shooting Romeca 3 times in the face would result in death. This count doesn't require prosecutors to prove Holly wanted Romeca dead. It just requires proof that Holly knew her actions would cause death. And firing a 9mm handgun at point-blank range into someone's face, there's no question, Holly knew exactly what would happen. Count 3. Actions created strong probability of death or great bodily harm. Even if prosecutors can't prove intent, even if they can't prove knowledge, they can prove Holly's actions created a strong probability that Romeca would die. 3 shots. Face, chin, side. That's not random firing. That's not warning shots. That's deliberate targeting of vital areas. That's a strong probability of death. Count 4. Felony murder. Illinois law says if someone dies during the commission of another felony, you can be charged with first-degree murder, even if you didn't intend to kill. Holly's gun was illegally stored in her passenger seat. Illinois law requires out-of-state firearms to be unloaded, locked in a case, and stored separately from ammunition in the trunk. Holly violated that law. That means Romeca's death occurred during the commission of a felony, unlawful possession of a firearm. That's felony murder. That's a separate count. Count 5. Accountability. Illinois has a legal doctrine called accountability. If you help someone commit murder, you're as guilty as the person who pulled the trigger. Carlos Smith restrained Romeca while Holly retrieved her gun. Witnesses saw Carlos put Romeca in a chokehold. Witnesses saw Holly walk to her car, get the gun, walk back, and fire. That's a coordinated act. That's conspiracy. And Holly can be charged with accountability for Carlos's participation in the murder. Count 6. Aggravating circumstances. Prosecutors can file additional counts based on specific aggravating factors. Lying in wait, premeditation evidenced by protective orders filed months in advance, discharging a firearm near a school, committing murder with a child present. Each aggravating factor strengthens the case and can support an additional count. 6 counts. Same victim, same crime, same day. And each count carries the same potential sentence, 20 to 60 years, or natural life in prison. This is why Class M is different from every other felony. Because one act of violence can become 6 separate life sentences, and the jury doesn't have to convict on all 6, they just have to convict on 1. But if they convict on 2, 3, 4, or all 6, the judge can stack those sentences consecutively, meaning back to back, not simultaneously. And when you stack 6 45-year sentences, you get 200.
So Holly will not be seeing the streets no time soon if she get convicted on all counts. Holly will spend the rest of her life in jail. She will have her baby. She will spend a small amount of time with that child, and they will take that baby from her. Now, the thing is, them kids can come visit their mother. But little Carlos can't never see his mother again.
70 years. Holly Johnson is 31 years old. She's not living to 300, which means consecutive sentencing guarantees she dies in prison without the judge ever having to say the words, natural life. Now we need to talk about the legal mechanism that seals Holly's fate: mandatory firearm enhancements. Because even if Holly's attorney is brilliant, even if the jury only convicts on one count, even if the judge feels sympathetic, none of that matters. The firearm enhancement is automatic. It's written into Illinois statute, and it turns a 20-year minimum sentence into 45 years to life. Here's how it works. Illinois Law 730, ILCS 5581A1D, establishes mandatory add-on sentences for defendants who commit first-degree murder with a firearm. These aren't suggestions. They're not guidelines. They're mandatory. The judge cannot waive them. The judge cannot reduce them. The judge cannot ignore them. If the facts meet the criteria, the enhancement applies automatically. There are 3 tiers of firearm enhancements, and each tier adds more years to your sentence. Tier 1. Personally armed with a firearm during the offense. If you had a gun on you when you committed first-degree murder, you get an automatic 15-year enhancement added to your sentence. So instead of 20 to 60 years, you're now looking at 35 to 75 years. That's Tier 1. Tier 2. Discharged a firearm during the offense. If you actually fired the gun, the enhancement jumps to 20 years. Now you're looking at 40 to 80 years minimum. That's Tier 2. Tier 3. Discharged a firearm and caused death or great bodily harm. If you fired the gun and someone died or suffered great bodily harm as a direct result, you get an automatic 25 years to life added to your sentence.
So, if anybody out there have a concealed license to carry, know your rights. Know what you can do and what you can't do. Because if you take somebody out and you can't prove the fact that they was taken out with self-defense, then you go into prison. Straight point blank period. You go into prison. So if you carrying, know your rights. Know what the law is. Because having a powerful protection, is nothing wrong with that. Long as you're using it for that protection. Not just to take somebody out because you got the right to carry. Know the difference.
Is the highest tier. This is where Holly falls. Holly didn't just carry a gun. She didn't just have it in her possession. She fired it. 3 times. She hit Romeca in the face, in the chin, in the side, and Romeca died. That's Tier 3. That's the maximum enhancement. That's 25 years to life added automatically to whatever base sentence the judge imposes. So let's do the math. Because this is where people don't understand how devastating Illinois sentencing law really is. The base sentence for first-degree murder in Illinois is 20 years minimum. That's the starting point. Now add the Tier 3 firearm enhancement. 25 years to life. 20 plus 25 equals 45. That's Holly's absolute minimum sentence if she's convicted on even one count. 45 years at 100%. No parole. No good behavior credits. No early release. Every single day served. But here's the thing. 45 years is just the minimum. The judge has discretion to go higher. The maximum sentence for first-degree murder with Tier 3 firearm enhancement.
Salute. If you're in the building, please hit that like button. I appreciate it. If you're in the building, please hit that like button.
Enhancement is natural life in prison. Natural life means exactly what it sounds like. You die behind bars. You never see freedom again. You serve until you take your last breath in a Department of Corrections facility. And Illinois judges are not shy about imposing natural life sentences when the facts warrant it. Let me...
Salute, Sharon. How you doing today? Salute. Glad to see you in the building. I'm doing a recap of the Romeca case. So make yourself comfortable.
Show you what pushes a sentence from 45 years to natural life. Aggravating factors. Illinois law allows judges to consider aggravating circumstances when determining where in the sentencing range to place a defendant. And Holly's case is absolutely loaded with aggravating circumstances. Aggravating factor number 1, premeditation. Holly filed protective orders against Romeca in December 2024 and again in July 2025. Those orders were filed months before the shooting.
And in my opinion, Holly was trying to create a paper trail to justify for taking Romeca out. She came up with this go file a protection order so she can have a chance to use her pow. She filed protection order in regards because she know she somehow, to me, this whole thing was planned. She was going to take Holly out, but she needed that protection order to back up her self-defense claim so she could say she was in threat of her life. Her baby was being threatened or whatever. Romeca wasn't even thinking about Holly. She can care less what Holly and Carlos was doing. Romeca had went on with her life. She was doing what she needed to do for her and her son. So Holly had to have a backup plan. But the sad thing about it, she filed the protection order, but it never got served. Keep that in mind.
Prosecutors are going to argue those orders weren't for protection. They were to create a paper trail, to build a self-defense narrative before the crime was even committed. That's premeditation. That's planning. That pushes the sentence toward the maximum. Aggravating factor number 2, lying in wait. Carlos and Holly positioned themselves outside Romeca's son's school at exactly the time they knew Romeca would be there. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't chance. They were waiting for her. That's lying in wait. That pushes the sentence higher.
That's exactly what I said. They was planning, they was plotting, they was scheming. Carlos knew the route that Romeca took to go to work. Carlos knew the route that he knew Romeca like the back of his hand. He knew what time she was going to drop their son off. He knew what time it was going to, how much time it was going to take for her to get herself together to go to work. He knew the route. So that was planning, waiting just for that moment. And that's exactly what they did.
Aggravating factor number 3, vulnerable victim. Multiple witnesses testified that Carlos Smith physically restrained Romeca. Some said chokehold, some said headlock, while Holly walked to her car to retrieve the gun. Romeca couldn't fight back. She couldn't run. She was defenseless. Shooting a defenseless victim who's being physically restrained? That's executing someone. That pushes the sentence higher. Aggravating factor number 4, proximity to a school. The shooting happened in the 0100 block of West Cermak Road, right near National Teachers Academy, where Romeca had just dropped off her 6-year-old son. Illinois takes crimes near schools extremely seriously. That pushes the sentence higher. Aggravating factor number 5, child present during commission of the crime. Holly and Carlos had their 6-month-old baby in the car when this happened. A child was present at the scene of a murder. That's an aggravating factor. That pushes the sentence higher. Aggravating factor number 6, consciousness of guilt. After Romeca fell to the ground, after she'd been shot 3 times, in the face, Holly and Carlos fist bumped. Multiple witnesses saw it, and Carlos said, out loud, in front of witnesses, "It was self-defense, right? It was self-defense." They were coordinating their story before police even arrived. That shows consciousness of guilt. That shows they knew what they did was wrong. That pushes the sentence higher. When a judge sits down to determine Holly's sentence and reads through these 6 aggravating factors, 45 years starts looking generous. 50 years becomes reasonable. 60 years becomes justified. Natural life becomes appropriate. And here's the part that destroys any hope for leniency. Even if Holly's attorney negotiates a plea deal down to second-degree murder, the firearm enhancement still applies. Let me repeat that because it's critical. Even with a reduced charge, the Tier 3 enhancement doesn't disappear. Second-degree murder in Illinois is a Class 1 felony with a sentencing range of 4 to 20 years. Sounds way better than first degree, right? But add the mandatory 25-year firearm enhancement for causing death, and you're looking at 29 to 45 years total. Even with a plea, even with the charge reduced, Holly is still facing decades in prison. The firearm enhancement is the trap.
So it doesn't matter what it doesn't matter what she get, whether it's first degree, second degree, man. She's still going to spend a X amount of time in prison because, like I said earlier, it's against the law to have a firearm near school. Whether you license to carry or not, it's a law. You're not supposed to have a firearm near school, churches, federal building, none of that sorts. So, like I said earlier, if you license to carry, know the law, know your rights, know when and where to carry your gun, your pow. Know where you can carry it, because you can get charged carrying your pow in the wrong place. Keep that in mind.
It's the reason Holly can't negotiate her way out of this. It's the reason no amount of remorse, no tearful allocution, no claim of self-defense changes the math. She discharged a firearm. She caused death. The statute says 25 years to life gets added automatically, and there's nothing her attorney, the judge, or anyone else can do about it. Real quick, if you're still watching, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because this case is about to get even crazier. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think Holly will take a plea deal or risk going to trial? I want to hear your thoughts. Now let's talk about why Illinois is...
Yeah, put in the comments, do you think Holly going to take a plea deal? Or she just going to go straight to trial and get convicted and they're going to charge her with what they got? Put in the comments what you think Holly going to do.
The absolute harshest state in the country when it comes to murder convictions. Let me tell you something most people don't know about Illinois. Illinois is one of only 3 states in the entire United States that has completely abolished parole. Illinois, Maine, and Virginia. That's it. 47 other states have some form of parole system where prisoners can earn early release based on good behavior, rehabilitation, time served. But not Illinois. In Illinois, when that judge bangs the gavel and announces your sentence, that's exactly how long you serve. Not a day less, not a day more, every single day. And it gets worse. Because Illinois doesn't just refuse to grant parole. Illinois also refuses to give good time credits to people convicted of first-degree murder. Good time credits are what most states use to incentivize good behavior in prison. You stay out of trouble, you participate in programs, you show you're rehabilitated, and the state knocks time off your sentence.
Holly was in the wrong place to commit this crime, I tell you that. Because Illinois ain't playing. Virginia don't play. And it's a sad situation if you get in trouble and you get convicted. And all that time you have to serve, you won't get out for good behavior. You could be good all you want. You could participate in programs all you want. You can do everything you think you can to come out of that place. You're not, because this day law. They said it like that, and that's the way it is. And let's get back into it.
In most states, good behavior can reduce a 40-year sentence to 30 years, 25 years, sometimes even 20 years. Not in Illinois. If you're convicted of first-degree murder in Illinois, you get 0 good time credits. 0. You cannot reduce your sentence through good behavior. You cannot earn credits for participating in educational programs, vocational training, substance abuse treatment, nothing. You serve 100% of your sentence. Every single day. Now let's talk about the thing that turns a life sentence into an impossible sentence, consecutive sentencing. Because if Holly is convicted on multiple counts, and remember, prosecutors are charging 6 counts for the same murder, the judge doesn't have to make those sentences run at the same time. The judge can stack them, one after another, back to back. And when you stack 6 45-year sentences consecutively, you get 270 years. Let me explain the difference because this is absolutely critical to understanding why Holly is finished. Concurrent sentencing means your sentences run simultaneously. Let's say you're convicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder. The judge sentences you to 45 years on each count. If those sentences run concurrently, you serve all 3 sentences at the same time. So you serve 45 years total. Not 135, just 45, because all 3 sentences are happening simultaneously. Consecutive sentencing means your sentences run one after another. Same scenario. 3 counts, 45 years each. But now the judge orders the sentences to run consecutively. That means you serve 45 years for count 1. Then, when those 45 years are done, you start serving 45 years for count 2. Then when those are done, you start serving 45 years for count 3. Total time, 135 years. You serve them end to end. In Illinois, judges have extremely broad discretion to impose consecutive sentences for violent felonies. And first-degree murder is the definition of a violent felony. So if Holly is convicted on 2 counts, the judge could sentence her to 45 years on count 1 and 45 years on count 2, consecutive. 90 years total. If she's convicted on 3 counts, that's 135 years.
Sharon, you always with me, so I made you a moderator. Welcome to the channel, Sharon. You're now the moderator.
4 counts, 180 years. 5 counts, 225 years. All 6 counts, 270 years. Now obviously 270 years is a meaningless number in practical terms. Holly isn't living to be 301 years old. But that's exactly the point. Consecutive sentencing is how judges impose de facto life sentences without actually saying the words natural life. It's a mathematical guarantee that you die in prison. And here's why prosecutors absolutely love consecutive sentencing. It's appeal-proof. Think about it. If Holly is convicted on 6 counts and sentenced consecutively, she could spend 10 years appealing count 1. Maybe she wins. Maybe an appellate court finds an error and overturns that conviction. Great. She just knocked off 45 years. But she's still got 225 years left on the other 5 counts. She's still dying in prison. She'd have to successfully appeal and overturn all 6 convictions to walk free. And the odds of that happening are so close to 0, you might as well call it impossible. Let me give you a real Illinois example so you can see how this works in practice. Drew Peterson, former police sergeant from Bolingbrook, convicted in 2012.
Sharon, all you got to do is just manage the chat. That's all you do. Moderator, just manage the chat. Then you post stuff like I just post. Please smash the like button, like, comment, subscribe. You put that in the chat. If you see somebody coming in, acting belligerent, being disrespectful, all that type of stuff, you got the control to delete them or block them or put them in timeout or whatever the case. That's what a moderator got. You got a chance to do all that. What else? You just moderate the chat. Keep the chat clean, respectful. That's all the moderator can do. Okay, you got it. I appreciate you, Sharon.
12 of murdering his 3rd wife, Kathleen Savio, sentenced to 38 years in prison. While he was in prison awaiting trial, prosecutors discovered Peterson had solicited a hitman to kill the state's attorney who was prosecuting him. Peterson was convicted of solicitation of murder for hire. That conviction added 40 years to his sentence. and the judge ordered it to run consecutively with his existing 38-year sentence. Drew Peterson's total sentence: 78 years. He was 55 years old when he was sentenced. Even if Peterson lives to be 133 years old, he'll still be in prison when he dies. That's what consecutive sentencing does. Now let's talk about Holly's case specifically. When Holly goes to trial, or if she pleads guilty as part of a deal, prosecutors are going to ask the judge to impose consecutive sentences. They're going to stand up in that courtroom and say, "Your Honor, this defendant filed protective orders against the victim months in advance to create a paper trail. She positioned herself near the victim's child's school at the exact time the victim would be there. She retrieved a firearm from her vehicle while her co-defendant physically restrained the victim. She fired 3 shots into the victim's face at close range. And then she celebrated with a fist bump. These facts demonstrate premeditation, calculation, and complete disregard for human life."
It's okay. I'm gonna help you get through it. You over on Shank Rock. You do one for Shank Rock, and you try. All you gotta do is just put, like I said, smash the like button. Just control the chat. Make sure nobody is being disrespectful. A lot of people like to come on people channel and get in their chat and use profanity and all kinds of stuff. So when they use profanity in the chat, you tell them to refrain from using cuss words. They can put it another way. They can spell it backwards, or just refrain from using the whole word. They know how to disguise cuss words. I guess most of them been on YouTube long enough to know how to disguise when they using cuss words. When you see somebody using cuss words, you can block them or put them in timeout, and just type in the chat to refrain from using cuss words. All you gotta do is just moderate the chat. You got the wrench to do whatever you need to do for us to chat. If you need more help, just ask me and I'll tell you. It's not a whole lot to do. It's not a whole lot to it. You just keeping the chat clean, making sure everybody being respectful, like I said. And, encouraging them to subscribe, share, comment, and like the video. Trying to get out so I can get more people over here. I want to get an algorithm so my videos can get out to more people, so I get more people over here. I think I'm doing a good job over here. So, but I appreciate you for, always sticking by me. You always show up. And I appreciate you for that.
Each count deserves its own sentence, and those sentences should run consecutively to reflect the severity of this defendant's conduct. The judge doesn't need any special reason to grant that request. The judge just needs to believe that consecutive sentences are appropriate, given the circumstances. And shooting someone 3 times in the face while your boyfriend holds them in a chokehold near a school with a baby in the car, that's about as aggravated as murder gets.
And see, this the thing. He had her in the chokehold to restrain her so Holly could get off with the pow-pow. He, anytime somebody restraining somebody like that, it's stopping them from getting away. When he told her that Holly had a pow-pow, and Romeca probably was trying to get in her car and go, but he restrained her because he already knew what they was cut out to do. He already knew what him and Holly planned to do. He was trying to take Romeca out because allegedly Romeca had information about Carlos being on the down low, that he was having sexual relations with other men, and she had proof, and she was going to expose him, and he didn't want to be exposed. Holly know about Carlos, shenanigans or whatever, and she was cool with it, but Romeca wasn't down with it. And Romeca had this information allegedly that she was going to expose Carlos, and that's one of the reasons why Carlos set Romeca up the way he did, because he didn't want his business being exposed. So him and Holly plotted together how they was going to get rid of Romeca, how they was going, how they was going to hurt. Because my thing is this: if you pow somebody just to hurt them or shut them up or whatever, you wouldn't pow them in the vital areas. She got pow in the face, in the thigh, in the leg. Come on, she hit all the vital points where a person would not survive. So she knew exactly what she was doing when she pow, and it was up close in person. She didn't do it from across the street. She didn't do it from down the street. She didn't do it at night in a secretive place. She did it out in broad daylight. And she used the self-defense as a tool to say, oh, she felt threatened. She felt her life was in danger. Romeca made all these threats against her and her baby, so she was defending herself. That was not defense. Even if she was the pow a warning shot, she ain't had to pow her. It could have been a pow on the side to say to warn her to get up, but Romeca was not even thinking about Holly. That's the thing. Romeca could care less about what Holly and Carlos had going on. She wasn't even fazed by what was going on with them because she was doing her own thing. She wanted Carlos to stay away from her. She wanted Carlos to go head on with his life. Carlos could not get over Romeca. He couldn't stand to see Romeca doing her own thing. It bothers him. So they planned to take this woman out, and that's exactly what they did. Let's get back into it.
So even if Holly is only convicted on 2 counts, even if the jury rejects 4 of the 6 theories and only accepts 2, she's still looking at 90 years minimum. 90 years at 100% with no parole means Holly serves every single day. She'd be 121 years old when she gets out. That's not a sentence. That's a death sentence wrapped in legal language. Before we continue, do me a favor. Share this video, hit that like button, and drop a comment. Should Holly take a plea deal or risk trial? Let me know what you think. Now let's talk about why a plea deal is Holly's only option, but it's still a life sentence. Let's be completely realistic about Holly Johnson's situation. She has 2 options: take a plea deal or go to trial. And if she's smart, if her attorney is worth the money she's paying him, she'll take the plea. Because going to trial means gambling with the rest of her life, and the house always wins.
If she go to trial, it's a done deal. It's a done deal. So if she's smart enough, she better take the plea, and she won't get as much time as she is. She's still going to get some time, but it wouldn't be as much as she is if she go to trial. Because if she go to trial, they find her guilty, that's it for her. She's going to spend all her natural life in prison. Her kids will get to visit her if they choose to bring the kids to see her. But little Carlos won't get to see his mother at all, ever again. And that's sad for a 7-year-old. That's sad that she had to take that little boy mother away from him. You know what I'm saying? It's sad. But see, that's just the beginning of his trauma. This little boy have to live with this for the rest of his life. That his dad set his mom up to take his mom out. He gonna resent his father for that. Him growing up to be a man that Romeca was raising him to be, he's gonna have a hard time trying to get through the fact that his dad took his mom out. That his dad plotted this. And Romeca loved her son with everything in her heart. You know, she loved that little boy. She took time out to write him letters, little notes. She wrote a heartfelt note for him and put it in his lunchbox, not knowing the fact she wasn't going to see her son again. She made it known that she loved her son. She told her son, mommy loves you. You know what I'm saying? She done everything every parent do when it comes to you taking care of your child. You show your child you love them. You tell your child you love them. But this case right here is a sad situation for the kids, because in the end they suffered the most. And then having Carlos kids grow up and find out they got a brother and know that this tragedy took place the way it did, it's not to say that Holly kids might regret her and resent her for the crime she committed. Like, why would you do this knowing the fact you got kids, you got young children? You wasn't thinking about us. You know what I'm saying? You have to think before you put anything into action, because you get the consequences of your actions. Every action have a consequence, whether it's good or bad. So when stuff like this come up, Holly had a chance to think things through. She had a chance to think it out. She could have gotten in her car and left. You know what I'm saying? She could have stayed there, called the police. She could have did anything besides taking that girl's life. Let's get back into it.
Here's what a plea negotiation looks like in a case like this. The prosecution comes to the table with all the leverage. They've got multiple witnesses who saw Carlos restrain Romeca. They've got witnesses who heard Holly yell, "I'm going to shoot you. Watch me shoot you." They've got witnesses who saw the fist bump after Romeca fell. They've got autopsy evidence showing the trajectory of the bullets proves Romeca wasn't attacking. She was standing still or already falling. They've got evidence that Holly's gun was illegally stored, which undermines any self-defense claim. They've got everything they need to convict. So the prosecution offers a deal. Plead guilty to second-degree murder. We'll drop the first-degree charge. You'll get a reduced sentence. You'll avoid natural life. And most importantly, you'll have a release date. Second-degree murder in Illinois is a Class 1 felony. The sentencing range for Class 1 felonies is 4 to 20 years. That sounds way better than 20 to 60 years for first degree, right? But here's the catch that destroys that math. The firearm enhancement still applies. Even if Holly pleads guilty to second-degree murder, the Tier 3 firearm enhancement doesn't disappear. She still discharged a firearm. She still caused death. That means the mandatory 25-year enhancement gets added to whatever sentence the judge imposes for second-degree murder. So let's do the plea deal math. Holly pleads guilty to second-degree murder. The judge sentences her to the maximum, 20 years for the Class 1 conviction. Add the mandatory 25-year firearm enhancement. 20 plus 25 equals 45 years total. But wait, here's where it gets slightly better for Holly. Second-degree murder convictions are eligible for 50% good time credits. Unlike first-degree murder, which requires you to serve 100%, second-degree only requires you to serve 50% of the Class 1 portion if you maintain perfect behavior in prison. So Holly serves 50% of the 20-year Class 1 sentence.
To me, I don't think she's going to get second degree, because like I said before, this got premeditation all over it. It got premeditation all over it. And it don't take a blind man to see that it was premeditated. They was sought out to do what they wanted to do, and they did exactly what they wanted to do, and that was to take Romeca out. So that's first degree. I don't even see it's coming down to manslaughter. So there's no way they can post that charge nowhere near that. But if she lucky enough and she do get second degree, like he said, she will spend 50% of that time. But she still will spend time in prison, which would be half of her life or most of her life.
That's 10 years. But the 25-year firearm enhancement is served at 100% because it's tied to causing death. 10 plus 25 equals 35 years total. Holly is 31 years old right now. 35 years from now, she'll be 66 years old when she walks out of prison. 66, if she makes it that long. If she doesn't get killed by another inmate. If she doesn't die from inadequate medical care. If she survives 3.5 decades in the Illinois Department of Corrections. But here's why Holly should take that deal. Because the alternative is catastrophically worse. If Holly goes to trial and loses, and the evidence strongly suggests she will lose, she's facing 45 years to life on first-degree murder with firearm enhancements. All of that served at 100%. No good time. No reductions. If the judge stacks sentences consecutively on multiple counts, Holly could get 90 years, 135 years, 270 years, or natural life. And all of that is served at 100%. So the choice is brutally simple. Take the plea, serve 35 years, walk out at 66, or roll the dice at trial and possibly die in prison. Holly's attorney is going to sit down with her in that county jail visitation room and lay it out in the bluntest possible terms. Holly, I can't guarantee we'll win at trial. The evidence is strong. The witnesses are credible. The jury is going to see that fist bump. They're going to hear you say, "I'm going to shoot you." And when they hear all of that, they're going to convict. And when they convict, the judge is going to throw the book at you. You'll get 60 years, 80 years, natural life. You'll die in prison. But if you take this deal, you'll get out. You'll be old, but you'll get out. You'll see your daughter again. You'll have a life. It won't be the life you wanted, but it'll be a life. Take the deal. And Holly will take it. Because 35 years is better than natural life. 66 years old is better than never. Having a release date is better than dying behind bars. But
I just want to say, I thank God. Thank God. I thank God. When I was out there doing my little mess, getting in trouble, being disobedience, and I got caught up in the criminal justice system, I only served 2 years. I was facing 525, but because it was my first offense and because of the charge that I was charged with, I only did 2 years. That was the worst 2 years of my life because I don't think nobody ever want to go see four walls in an iron bed. They treat you like shit in jail. They straight treat you like the criminal you are. You don't get no special treatment. You know, uh, they talk to you in a nasty way. It's just not a good place for nobody. And the actually spend the rest of your life in there is crazy. It's diabolical because ain't nowhere in hell that most people is built for that. I know I might been a little hard, a little rough. I was doing little things. I was a hard knock person. But when it came to that jail, it broke me. I wasn't as hard as I thought I was because jail was not made for me. I wasn't built for jail. Them brides over there, you know, they crazy. But I was crazy right along with them. I had to act crazy. I had to act insane just to keep them off me. And that put me in the psych ward, but I was safe. But I thank God. Lord knows I thank God every day that I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time behind bars because I don't think I would have made it. I would either caught another charge or I probably would have got taken out because of my attitude and where I was at. I don't think it would have I would have made it out the way I did. And I thank God for my freedom. Every day I keep that in the front of my mind, you know, not to put myself in a position to end up back in there. Now, I told a lot of people now, when it comes to my family, though, my grandkids and my kids, now I go to jail for them because I can't, I'm just not gonna let you hurt my kids. I'm not gonna let you hurt my grandkids. You know, I'm not letting you do that. So that's the only way I could see myself going back under those circumstances. But anything else, not. Let's get back in it.
Be clear about what a plea deal actually means for Holly. It's not mercy. It's not leniency. It's not getting off easy. 35 years is a life sentence. Holly's daughter will be 35 years old when Holly gets out. Holly will miss her daughter's entire childhood. She'll miss graduations, proms, first jobs, weddings, grandchildren. By the time Holly walks out of prison at 66, everyone she knows will be elderly or dead. The world will have changed completely. Technology will be unrecognizable. And Holly will be an old woman with no job skills, no education, no connections, no support system, released into a society she no longer understands. That's what a plea deal gets you in Illinois. It's just a slower death. Holly Johnson isn't the only person facing life in prison for Romeca Meeks Blackman's murder. Carlos Smith, the father of Romeca's 6-year-old son, the man witnesses say restrained.
Yeah, let's talk about him. Because he's the reason for all this. If it wasn't for him, I don't think Holly or Romeca would be in this situation. And what baffles me is I hate when women get caught up with these type of dudes. You know, especially when they knowing the fact that they got somebody already there and bringing somebody else along. But like I said in the beginning, even if he did break up with Romeca and decided to move on with Holly, he should have left Romeca alone completely, totally. He should have just let Romeca be. But he couldn't do that. So he's the reason why they are caught up in this the way they caught up. One locked up, one gone. And in the end, his kids suffered. So he needed to get the same treatment that Holly gets. Let's get back into it. See, for me, I would go fight. I would go to fight hands and feet for my. Hey, I'm telling you, Sharon, I'm with you with that. Cause I'm telling you, man, I couldn't even put it in my mind or even think that somebody wanted to harm my grandkids. Cause that mean blood to me. You feel what I'm saying? I would go all the way out for them because they little innocent kids. You know what I'm saying? It's a do or die when it comes to my babies. You know, kids are defenseless. You know, and for somebody to truly harm them, man, it's on. It's on. Because I can't just sit back and let somebody just get away with harming my babies. You know what I'm saying? They precious to me. You know, they mean the world to me. And I'm just not going to let it slide. I don't care who it is. Even if it's family, friends, whoever, I don't care. I'm going toe to toe for mine.
Romeca while Holly retrieved her gun. He's next. And when prosecutors finally charge him, he's facing the exact same counts Holly faces. Same charges, same enhancements, same truth in sentencing laws, same no parole rule, because Illinois has a legal doctrine called accountability. And accountability means if you help someone commit murder, you're just as guilty as the person who pulled the trigger. Illinois statute 720 ILCS 55 and 2 defines accountability this way. A person is legally accountable for the conduct of another when, either before or during the commission of an offense, and with the intent to promote or facilitate that commission, he or she solicits, aids, abets, agrees, or attempts to aid that other person in the planning or commission of the offense. Let me translate that into plain English. If Carlos knew Holly was going to shoot Romeca, and Carlos did anything, anything at all, to help make that shooting happen. Carlos is guilty of first-degree murder. Same charge Holly faces. Same sentence range Holly faces. Even though Carlos never touched the gun. And the evidence against Carlos is absolutely damning. Multiple witnesses saw Carlos slam a car door on Romeca repeatedly, trying to trap her. Then Carlos grabbed Romeca and put her in a chokehold or headlock. Witnesses describe it both ways, but they all agree Carlos had Romeca physically restrained. While Carlos held her, Holly walked to her car, opened the passenger door, retrieved her 9mm handgun, walked back, and fired 3 shots into Romeca's face at close range. After Romeca fell, Carlos and Holly fist bumped. Carlos said, out loud with witnesses listening, "It was self-defense, right? It was self-defense." That's not Carlos trying to break up a fight. That's not Carlos caught in the middle of something he didn't understand. That's Carlos being an active participant in a murder. That's accountability. That's conspiracy. And
he should be held accountable, just like he said, because that is disgrace of him to even put his baby mama in that position in order for this to take place. He need to get the same treatment as Holly. No more, no less. Exactly what she get, because he's just as guilty as she is. Like I said before, he's the reason for it all. If he never got this female involved and put all that stuff in her head, then we wouldn't be having this discussion. He pumped Holly's head up and made Holly envy Romeca. Holly was so jealous of her, and she never met her until the day she took her out. She heard of her, she probably spoke to her, but she never saw her. And Carlos pumped this girl head up with all that foolishness to get her to this point in this position where she just went for it, which is a dumb situation. Let's get back into it.
That's why Carlos is going to prison for the rest of his life. Right now, as of January 2026, Carlos hasn't been charged, but he will be. Prosecutors are waiting. They're building their case. They're waiting to see if Holly flips. They're waiting to see if Carlos will cooperate and testify against Holly. And once they have everything they need, they'll charge him. And when they do, Carlos faces the same 6 Class M felony counts Holly faces. Here's what prosecutors will argue when they charge Carlos. Count 1. Carlos intended to cause Romeca's death by restraining her so Holly could shoot her. Count 2. Carlos knew his actions would result in Romeca's death. Count 3. Carlos's actions created a strong probability of death. Count 4. Romeca died during the commission of another felony that Carlos participated in. Count 5. Carlos is accountable for Holly's conduct because he aided and facilitated the murder. Count 6. Aggravating circumstances including premeditation, lying in wait, and coordination evidenced by the fist bump. 6 counts, same as Holly, and each count carries the same sentence, 20 to 60 years, with firearm enhancements pushing it to 45 years to life. Now here's the interesting part. Carlos might actually face worse consequences than Holly, because prosecutors can argue Carlos was the mastermind. Think about it. Carlos is the one who had a restraining order against him. Carlos is the one who violated that order by being near Romeca's son's school. Carlos is the one with motive. He wanted Romeca out of his life so he could move on with Holly. And Carlos is the one who physically controlled Romeca while Holly retrieved the weapon. If prosecutors decide to frame Carlos as the primary actor, and Holly as the person who carried out his plan, Carlos could face the harshest possible sentence. And Holly could potentially reduce her sentence by testifying against Carlos, by saying it was his idea, by saying she was scared of him, by saying he pressured her into it. That's the game prosecutors play. They pit co-defendants against each other. They offer deals to whoever flips first. And right now, both Holly and Carlos are sitting in silence, hoping the other one doesn't crack. But eventually, one of them will. And when that happens, the other one is finished. My guess? Holly flips first. She's facing natural life. Carlos is still free. Holly's attorney is going to say, "Give us Carlos. Tell us it was his plan. Tell us he pressured you. Tell us you were scared, and we'll get you second degree instead of first degree. You'll have a release date." And Holly will take that deal, because Carlos is not worth dying in prison for. When Holly flips, and she will flip, Carlos goes from witness to defendant, from free man to inmate, from potential father to convicted murderer facing life in prison. And once he's charged, he'll realize what Holly already knows. Illinois doesn't give second chances. By all accounts, Illinois is the harshest state in America. Only 3 states have abolished parole. Only Illinois requires 100% of first-degree murder sentences to be served, and with truth in sentencing laws, mandatory firearm enhancements, and consecutive sentencing, Holly Johnson will never be free again. Her only hope is a plea deal to second-degree murder. And even with that, she's facing 35 to 40 years behind bars. She'll be 66 to 70 years old when she gets out, if she gets out at all. That's still a life sentence. She'll miss her daughter's entire childhood, her entire youth, her entire adult life. By the time Holly walks out, she'll be an old woman who spent the majority of her life in a cage. And Carlos Smith? He's next. Prosecutors are building an accountability case against him right now. And when they charge him, he's facing the exact same counts, the exact same enhancements, the exact same truth in sentencing laws Holly faces. Romeca Meeks Blackman was 31 years old. She was a nursing student, a devoted mother. She deserved better than to be executed in broad daylight while her 6-year-old son was at school. And Holly Johnson is about to spend the rest of her life paying for what she did. Subscribe for updates on this case. Drop a comment. Will Holly take the plea or risk trial? Share this video. Hit that like button. And remember, in Illinois, murder means life. There's no parole. There's no way out. And maybe, just maybe, it will bring justice for Romeca. Hold out her phone.
Yes. See, it's all about accountability. Romeca didn't deserve what she got. They was counting on the attention to fade away from it, but that's not happening here. The case is still visual. Her name is still going to be spoken. I'm going to still follow up because now it's out there. The facts are public. Accountability is pending. They need to be accountable for the actions. They need to be put away for the damage they done. This is not the end of it until justice is done. We ain't gonna stop saying Romeca name until we know they are put away for life. We not done. If it moves, we moving with it. We gonna cover it. If it stall, we gonna say that too. It's always the facts. The facts is here. The facts is plain and simple. You see it for yourself. I'm saying? They wanted to take her out. They took her out. They trying to use self-defense to cover their tracks to say it was self-defense. No, it ain't self-defense. We see that as plain as day. It wasn't self-defense. She had to go retrieve her weapon. So how is that self-defense? You know what I'm saying? I pray to God that when the trial day come and she got to stand before that judge, if she don't take that plea, that he will throw the book at her and she will go to jail for the rest of her life. Same with Carlos. Because like I said in the beginning, he the reason that this took place in the first place. And what kind of man will put their baby mama in harm's way? I mean, that's your child's mom. You wouldn't think what your child would think of you for taking out their mother. You are despicable, Carlos. I wouldn't even call you a man. You a monster. You're an animal. You disgusting. Because no real man would do that. I don't care what the circumstances was. Could have been an adult about it. You could have took the highway. You could have just went on with your life and left Romeca alone. But no. Y'all want to plot and plan. So whatever happens to you, I hope you get every bit of time they give you. Because God knows that woman needs to be here with her child. God knows it wasn't time enough. It wasn't her time to go. She was doing great things for herself. She was doing great things in her life. She was trying to make something of herself. And I commend her because she was young. She was on her way to great things. She had a couple more months to get her degree in nursing. She was doing something right. But you had to go make it wrong. So I'm going to stay on your neck. And I'm going to keep on talking about Romeca because she needs justice. Her son needs justice. Her mother needs justice. I appreciate you for pulling up. Thanks, Sharon. Yes, please share this live. Please share it. Let it get out in the rhythm, in the algorithm. I appreciate you for pulling up. It's always a pleasure to see you in my chat. Until I do the next one, stay safe, stay warm, and keep your head up. Have a good one. This has been an awesome live.